This channel is for educational purposes only. All videos, presentations and writing are only for educational purposes and are not intended as investment advice. You can implement this while trading at your own risk. If you would like to learn and follow our videos, please subscribe.
Hello everyone, I'm Victor from Naija TradeWise. Today we're going to be talking about how to take a small account and grow it to six figures and beyond. So let's get started. And there are four things I want us that we will be focusing on. Now, firstly, what do? Find a broker that is regulated, because if you have a regulated broker, should the broker go bust, at least you are sure that the regulator will do right by you by securing your funds that are supposed to be with that broker. Now, some brokers have different amount of coverage. Some have 20,000 euros. Some, the FCA has quite much more than that. But the most important thing, like where we want to focus on, is finding the right broker here. The next thing, you want to find a broker that allows you to trade micro lots. Now, most brokers will give you mini lots and a whole lot. A mini lot represents 10,000 USD, while a whole lot, it's $100,000. Now, why is this so important? On a mini lot, one pip movement represents $1, while on a $100,000, one pip movement represents $10. Now, on a micro lot, what happens is this, that one pip movement represents 10 cents. So let's see why we need this. Like we stated here to you. So why do you need a micro lot? Like we said, we want to grow a small account to six figures and beyond. Now let's look at the example we have here. A small account can be considered 500 USD. Now, if we decide to risk 1% of that 500 USD, it's $5. Now with a mini lot account, this only gives you room for 5 pips. Now you get stopped out on almost every trade when you risk 5 pips. Now let me just show you that here. Now this is the Australian dollar USD. Let's expand it. Now you can see how fast it moves, right? Now before you know, 5 pips is gone and you're thrown out of a trade. Whereas if you're using a micro lot, which one pip represents 10 cents, it gives you more room to take risk and make some money in the long run. Now, the second thing I want us to focus on is doing our best to add funds regularly to our trading account. You might hear of people saying that someone took a small account and turned it to 6 or even 7 figures and beyond. But these cases, they're like 1 in a million person does that. The remaining 999,000 people probably blew up their account and they're nowhere to be found. So let's look at how that works. Right now, you have 500 USD. You make 20% each year for 20 years. Of course, you're consistent. You will come up with 19,168,000. Whereas you're here with your $500, the small account you started. Keyword is consistency. You've been trading and you make 20% each year. But what you also do on the side is that you've been adding $200 every month to this trading account. Now, by the time you do this for 20 years consistently, you come up with 556,830. This is more than $500,000. This is a good chunk of change. So, third thing we're going to focus on is this. Think in terms of our risk to reward ratio. So let's say we have two traders here. Trader A who placed a trade, he risked $10 and he gets a return of 100 USD. It means that he made a return of 1,000%. Of course, he made this 10 times of this. Now, trader B decides to risk $10,000 and gets a return of $1,000. Now, what he made is 10% of the total amount of money he risked. Now, if we were to compare in terms of risk reward ratio, trader A is a much better trader than trader B is. So let's look at this objectively, like we just stated. We start with $500. The first year, we made 20% of that. That's $100. Now, some people will say that, oh, Victor, a whole year you made $100. Look, what we're trying to do here is learn how to be consistent, growing our account. Because remember, we have a 20-year target. And what we should know that 20 years from now, 20 years from now, you'll be 20 years older. And the 20 years will pass anyway. So why not look at this as some kind of savings account for yourself, which you have access to and you are the one controlling it. This is not some fixed deposit. This is money that you can do whatever you want to do with it. Now, of course, after 20 years, like we stated, the amount of money grew to $500,000 and beyond. Let's say you decide, of course, that $500,000, you take 1% of it. That's $5,000. In 1 year, you bring a return of 20%. That is $100,000. Now, that is very good income for a whole year. Because why is this important? You know, if you start with that small account, you are allowed, you can make mistakes. You know, you can blow up your capital, you only blow up $500. But if you take a large sum of money and you blow through it, there is no learning curve in it. So it's much better for you to start with a small account. Now, the fourth and final thing I want us to focus on is profiting from our mistakes. Now, what are the mistakes you can make? What's your mistake? Sometimes we want to place a buy order and we instead click on sell. Why did you make this mistake? Perhaps you are new to this platform and you are still finding your way around it. How do we solve this problem? Double check before you place the order so you avoid that totally. You also need to learn how to calculate position size so you don't place the wrong lot size. Now, let's go back to the risk reward and also how much you stand to make. Now, let's look at this. Some people can afford $1,000, so they start with $1,000. Interest rate 20 years. Interest rate, sorry, is 20%. The time period is 20 years, right? They're able to do $200 every month. Now let's look at it. We calculate this. Inflation is 13%, sorry. Now, this gives us over $1 million within 20 years. Now, this is very good money for anyone. Now, remember, this money didn't appear. You were diligent in your trading. You were consistent. So, but some other people will say, look, 20 years is a lot and they can probably do more. They say they have $5,000 they can start with. They say for 10 years, they can deposit $400 every month. Let's check what they make. Inflation is the same. Well, this is almost $250,000, right? This is good money. Some people might have 5 years and so, but the key thing, what we're trying to say here is this. Growing your small account to 6 figures and beyond is possible if you trade consistently and you learn how to calculate your risk-reward ratio. I hope this has been helpful to anyone watching. You all have a great day. I'm Victor from Naija TradeWise.